Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for not getting a car for my stepdaughter but giving a car to my daughter? My daughter and stepdaughter are the same age, 18. I've been with my wife for 3 years, married for 1. My wife and I established that since our kids were pretty much grown, most finance choices and parenting between the kids would be left to the bio parents. My stepdaughter and I just don't have a relationship. She'd often say things like, "You're not my dad," or just make rude remarks, so I stopped trying. She was grown, couldn't really make a difference. Now we just don't really talk. I have 2 kids, 18 female and 16 male, who are my entire world. My daughter has been begging for a car for 2 years and my ex-wife suggested that we should get her a car for a pre-graduation gift. She will graduate in under 2 months, has great grades and great behavior, so why not? I told my wife that my ex-wife and I were both pitching in to get my daughter the car she wanted. My wife was not happy about this as she didn't think it was fair that my daughter got a car, but hers did. Her ex-husband and her can't afford to give her a car right now, so she suggested that I split the amount I was paying for my daughter's car, and use that to get her daughter a car. Except that can't work due to the fact I'm paying half for my daughter's car, and if I were to pay for my stepdaughter's car as well, finances would be tight. My wife then told her daughter. So, the kids and I went to my ex-wife's house and gave my daughter the car she wanted. She was extremely happy, and that's all I wanted. We got back to the house and my wife was mad at me because I went along with giving her a car. The next morning, my wife said she had a surprise for me, and started recording. Her stepdaughter came into the kitchen and said, "I'm sorry Dad for everything I've done," said some other stuff, and then asked if she could please have a car. I asked my wife to stop recording. I told her that I can't give her a car, and now I'm the criminal. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I can understand being annoyed, but your new wife is being manipulative. Exactly, and her daughter is following in her footsteps. An apology shouldn't have strings attached, and she would have returned to her former ways after you bought her a car anyways. She's only calling you dad and batting her eyelashes to get her way. At least your wife isn't discreet when it comes to manipulating you. If only blatantly fake proclamations of love were enough to magic money out of your butt, eh? Not the a-hole. Damn, and here I was about to try this technique on my husband, lol. Not the a-hole. It disgusts me that she would only call you dad now that she is wanting something from you. Your wife is being ridiculous. If financial decisions were set to be for bio kids, you did what you wanted for yours. I hope you guys don't have a joint account your wife can drain to buy a car for her brat of a daughter. To film the moment where the brat goes begging, is even more ridiculous. It seems like they are trying to shame you into buying a car for her, when she has wanted nothing to do with you until you got your daughter one. Good for you for not giving in to your wife. Exactly. The wife and stepdaughter are both being extremely emotionally manipulative and selfish. I grew up with a stepsister exactly my age from my stepfather and 3 stepbrothers from my stepmom, and I didn't expect to get the same things they did and vice versa, and I'd actually grown up with all of them from a young age and had good relationships with both step-parents. OP. Stand your ground. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to pay niece's college tuition against fiancé's wishes? Both my brother and his ex-girlfriend are total deadbeat parents to my niece and they've never been in the picture. They dumped her on my mom the second she was born, so she practically raised my niece since she was a baby. I started helping out more after my dad died, not my niece's grandpa since my brother and I had different dads, and was left with a huge sum of inheritance. I put some of it aside and decided that would be her college fund in the future. My niece is bright and she has a lot of goals career-wise. She's about to become a senior in high school this year, so next year will be college. My fiancée is 4 months pregnant and something that came up recently was my niece's college fund. I was always upfront about my involvement in my niece's life. And I do provide financial support because I have the means to do it, and I know my mom needs the help every now and then. She feels that now with a baby on the way, that fund should be used for our future expenses and our own kids' college instead. My fiancé isn't happy that I still want to use this money for my niece to go to college. And we have had a couple fights about it. 1. I promised my niece her college expenses would be taken care of as long as she maintained good grades, which she has. 2. My fiancé and I both make good money right now. Enough to start up a new college fund and to get by with all the added child expenses. We literally looked at our finances to make sure we were financially ready before trying to have a baby. 3. This money has been set aside long before my fiancé was even in the picture. But she says this pandemic has shown that there could be a time in the future where we won't be financially stable, and why risk our child's well-being when there's that money for us to save now? I don't see it that way and don't feel it's fair to my niece when I promised her this, and now I'm being accused of not caring about our future child and preferring my niece over them. And being made into the bad guy for not wanting to keep that money. So I'd like to know what others think. Am I being an A for wanting to use this money for what I always intended instead of saving it for my child? Edit. I know it's late since I've posted this, but I'd like to add that this is out of character for my fiancée because she's done a lot to help my niece too. This is mostly a financial anxiety for her given the pandemic and that there could be a time where we both are unemployed. I'm taking steps to try to ease that anxiety so that we're both more secure about the well-being of our kid in the future. Not the a-hole. Your SO has no right to come into the picture and demand what you do in regards to money you set aside with a purpose before she even entered the picture. At this rate, I almost recommend a prenup. We both agreed to wanting a prenup, so that's already taken care of. Not the a-hole, but consider mutual life insurance policies to give your fiancé peace of mind financially. Not the a-hole, but you absolutely would be if you took back the promise you made to your niece. This really doesn't have much to do with your fiancé since it isn't impacting her. Oh no, I don't intend to. That's why I was wondering if I was an a-hole for not wanting to use that money for anything other than investing in her future. Not the a-hole. And your fiancé is unbelievably selfish. This is money you set aside for your niece. It's not like you're taking food out of your baby's mouth. It's possible that the fiancé is just freaking out from being pregnant during a pandemic. She might come around after she has some time to think about it. Some women get a bit weird / overprotective of their unborn kid, and she might be having an anxiety attack. She might literally be envisioning some major catastrophe that reduces them to poverty, leaving her unable to properly care for the soon-to-be kid. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to sit in on my wife's breastfeeding class?" My wife, 36 female, and I, 35 male, have been married for 3 years, but together since we were 21 and 22. She is a couple months pregnant. Ever since she got pregnant, it was like she went from how she's always been since she was 22, fun, energetic, ambitious, and spontaneous, to the personality of a stereotypical person in a nursing home. It seems we cannot have any regular adult conversation because increasingly, all she's been doing is reading very detailed books about the birthing process, and discussing the contents of the book makes for extremely graphic imagery. It seems this gory stuff has become her idea of fun and better alternative to, I don't know, going on a staycation, dressing up and doing something, or heck, even going to the mall and buying nice things for each other. I'm at the end of my rope in terms of this gore, but the doctors and the relatives all say this isn't gore. It's just labor fluids and poop. So, my wife signed up for the online version of our local hospital's breastfeeding class. She started twisting my arm in terms of being there when one of her mom friends said her husband was going to be there. I told her that I was sure he was the only one because I can't imagine how weird and awkward it would be for a bunch of men to be there talking about breasts and the detailed gory functions of it in front of a bunch of women. My wife relented for a while, but the day of class, aka yesterday, she got an email where the subjects was couples participating. She got mad because it seemed like everybody's husbands were going to be there and there was going to be a portion where couples had to partner up and be taught how to pump and support. I told her once again the thought of it already made me feel like it was gory, and just talking about what Woody talked about is just inappropriate to me, and I have a large gag reflex, so just imagining what they would be describing would affect me. I don't get why I needed a class learning about how her breast lactates, when I wasn't the one pumping and could support her from afar. My wife stormed out, and after the class, she said she was just sitting there while everybody else partnered up, and that she hated me for embarrassing her like that. Am I the a-hole for thinking a practically public lesson about breast fluids and function is awkward, and not something I need to be a part of to be supportive? You're the a-hole. I'm so sorry for your wife. Her husband and soon-to-be father of her child is unsupportive and childish. Get over yourself. She can't just choose to ignore the situation, and neither can you. If you care about your wife and your future child, you'll act like it. This dude sounds straight resentful about their lives being disrupted. I'm guessing he's not into having a kid at this late date. Too bad his wife is growing a kid and cannot act like a 22-year-old at the moment, huh? You're the a-hole. You really need to grow up, fast. Your wife will poo herself when she gives birth. She could tear herself apart pushing a human being out of her. There will be blood. There will be many different bodily fluids. And you're whining about having to learn how her breasts will feed your child? You are going to be a parent soon. Start acting like it. This is your life now. I'm glad she realizes and she's so on the ball about it, because you're useless. On the list of gross stuff that OP would have to deal with, taking about/watching his wife breastfeed won't even crack the top 10. Everything related to labor, of course. Then the baby who will poop, pee, spit up, vomit, burp, fart, sneeze, with many of those fluids landing on him. However, it seems OP will be one of those fathers who barely touches his child, so I guess he won't have to worry. You don't seem very mature or the least bit understanding. Your wife is pregnant and now she's been focused on pregnancy? Well, of course. Also, if you think this is gore, then you're probably not ready for a kid. And as far as being embarrassed to go to a class where they talk about breasts, are you sure you're not a child? You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. This isn't gory, it's all a part of childbirth and raising kids. What's next? You won't change any of the baby's diapers because that's too gory or your gaga reflex will act up. This is part of having kids, and you absolutely should be supporting your wife. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for showing my ex's text messages to my kids? A bit of background: I have been divorced for over 4 years. My ex was extremely mistreating and I stayed out of fear for far too long. Now I am free and so much happier. Well, mostly happy because being single in your late 30s sucks. My ex and I have 2 kids together, J, 9 male, and K, 11 female. I have primary custody while he has scheduled visitation 2 weekends a month and every other holiday, because the courts say that since he only physically mistreated me and not the kids, that he deserves visitation. The courts did not consider the emotional mistreatment at all. That should be enough background. Here is the latest drama from my ex. A few years after the divorce, my ex started to lie to my kids about me, and tell them I said things that I didn't in text messages, and that I said bad things about them in the text messages. After a couple of visits with me always saying that what my ex said wasn't true, I got fed up. My kids are both advanced for their age and are both really smart. I sat them down and showed them all the texts from their father to me and my replies. It quickly became clear to them that their father lied about everything and even lied to me, no surprise there, about a lot of things. The kids saw the truth and the issue was addressed, at least in my home. Since then, I have had an open phone policy so the kids know all the text messages between their father and I. Luis has repeatedly tried to lie to the kids since then, but then the kids will point out that they already read the messages in question and therefore know the truth. This infuriates my ex. Lately he is claiming that since I allow my kids to read his messages to me, that I am practicing parental alienation and that it is harming the kids. He often will insult the kids and me in these text messages and it offends the kids. We only text about visitation and other kid stuff, but he has a tendency to go off on a tangent to insult me and eventually ends up insulting the kids. Basically, he throws a fit in the text messages when he doesn't get what he wants when he wants it. I don't give in to his rudeness anymore, at least I try not to, as I am trying to grow a backbone. Here is where I think he might be right and I am an a-hole. The kids are really offended by his constant lack of respect during their visits. Now with the insulting text messages the kids are verbally voicing that they hate their father. The text messages have no cuss words but they are mean and bellying. Therefore they are making them resent their father more. I may be the a-hole because I am letting my kids read text messages that are only meant for my eyes. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Take all this to a lawyer and get custody reduced for a-hole husband. And get counseling for your kids. Not the a-hole. His actions are the problem, not yours. Your children have a right to know, for their own safety and peace of mind, not left to think they're being raised by a crazy mother. Get to a lawyer, show them the texts and prepare to get in front of anything the ex may try. Get your kids into counseling or therapy, so they have the tools to deal with the emotional turmoil. Good luck. My kids are in counseling. The counselor knows about me letting them see the texts and why. I can't afford a lawyer. I really don't know in this one, but what I do know is that I feel incredible sadness for the kids. They don't deserve this. I agree. They absolutely do not deserve their dad trying to poison them against their mom. Not to mention putting mom in the position to where she needs to defend herself. Thank you for seeing my predicament. Not the a-hole for showing them the texts. This involves them since daddy is making up claims. But you will be the a-hole if you don't take this issue to court. Let your kids straight up tell that daddy is lying about mommy, etc. He is the one alienating a parent himself, while trying to do it to you. He is the one painting himself as a bad guy with his behavior, which includes essentially trying to gaslight you. He doesn't deserve unsupervised visits. He could have 2 to 4 hours every Sunday with an escort or such. I don't have the money for a lawyer and wish I could afford one. The pandemic wiped out all my savings and my work hours have been drastically reduced. I am currently looking for a new job. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.